Get ready for some upbeat banter, plenty of laughs, and a whole lot of love for the game and our team. This is Buds and Blue Jays. And now your hosts, Riley McConnell and Jesse Burrell.
Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday, June 16th. Happy Father's Day, and welcome to episode 186 of Buds and Blue Jays, your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm Jesse Burrell, joined by Riley McConnell, and today on our show, the Jays return home, and although we lost the opener, we go on and take the next two and end up winning 2 out of 3 against the Cleveland Guardians, the Blue Jays' first series win against a team above 500 since the Yankees in mid-April, and we return to just one game under 500. We have a lot to get to in this series. Daniel Vogelbach is gone, but Addison Barger is here, and the Buffalo boys are here and have been key contributors to the Toronto Blue Jays. Plus, we have pitching updates, injury updates, a game of do these stats matter, and so much more. But most importantly, the Jays are 4.5 games out of the playoff with just one team in between them. Riley, with all that being said, what's up, my guy? How are you today?
Good. Again, happy Father's Day. Busy day. Unfortunately my dad had to work, so we spent it with members of my girlfriend family. I played baseball with 5-year-old twin boys today. What an eventful day that was, man. Trying to teach kids how to play ball, and watching them have fun doing all that. It was great. I don't usually say this because it's Buds and Blue Jays, but I'm just gonna say way off script, like, Stephen Kwan is a hell of a ball player.
Yeah, he's good.
I don't know if there's a more underrated player in the league. More people should be talking about this guy. Elite bat the ball skills. I'm not going to give too much credit. I like Cleveland's makeup. I think the Guardians have an unbelievably talented roster. And I'm really happy we won the series. But their team's doing really good in that American League Central. They have a lot to cheer for. We, Jesse, have less to cheer about, but we can cheer about this series victory. Wasn't the cleanest of series for us, to say the least. But at the end of the day, one game below 500 at this point, still it's ticking, man. I mean, we're recording, it's June 16th. Time's a ticking, time's a wasting. We really need to put together some really good stretch of series. I know 4.5 games back, that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're constantly splitting series and flopping back and forth, you're not gaining any ground. We really need to gain ground because before we know it, it's going to be July, the All-Star break. Then we're looking at August. And if we don't know by then the answer is probably no, we're not looking at the playoffs.
Yeah, time to go on a run for our Toronto Blue Jays here soon, and we'll get into that in this episode. But first, a couple housekeeping notes. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are live, so if you are watching us, leave a comment. Come to our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, interact with us. We'll put your comment on screen. If you have a question, a burning question, or if you just want to compliment on Riley McConnell's hair, you can do all that too on this segment. It's very nice. And a couple things. We will be at the Comedy Bar in Toronto this Thursday, June the 20th. Our friend Scott over at the Walk-Off Podcast is doing a panel with a couple Blue Jays media members, Keegan Matheson of MLB.com, Scott Mitchell of TSN, Caitlin McGrath of The Athletic, and so much more. We had so much fun going to the event last time. We are going back this Thursday. So if you want to come have a beer with Riley and I, come talk some Blue Jays baseball with some really smart people, go online, get your tickets. We will be there. We are very, very excited to go.
If you want to, we can sit. I won't do the Immaculate Grid for a couple days. I won't look on Twitter because Teresa always has to show me. And as soon as I see the notification and it says Jesse Treso, I'm like, fine. I'm not looking. I got to do my grid. If you want to talk to me, do some grids at the bar, have a couple drinks. I think they don't have Bud. I think they got PBR. We'll have a PBR if you have more of an acquired aesthetic taste. I'm sure they have lots more for that kind of taste than they do for people like me, Jesse.
All right, well, let's get into the meat of the episode because we do have a lot to get here, 4.5 minutes in. And I want to start the episode with some news that came down with the Toronto Blue Jays before the series even started. And Riley, let's say a farewell, if you will, to our friend Danny Burgers. Daniel Vogelbach was officially DFA'd at the start of this series. Addison Barger was recalled in his notes. John Schneider said, look, the move was just basically out of principle. It allows the Blue Jays to be a lot more flexible. They don't have to pinch run for him all the time. They can play Addison Barger in more defensive positions. So long, Daniel Vogelbach. We'll remember that one game where you really hit a home run and you really did well for us. But this was a move I think you and I both saw coming for quite a while. I want to know what your instant reaction was knowing that saying goodbye to Daniel Vogelbach.
Well, let's look at it like this, Jesse. I mean, you have to fill your clubhouse with 26 ball players. And one of those ball players for the Toronto Blue Jays was Daniel Vogelbach. This is a very one-dimensional. You talk about 5-tool players. Daniel Vogelbach is a 1-tool player. And that 1 tool isn't really that elite because it's not kind of complemented with the I'm talking about power, obviously, is that tool. But when you lack contact and in that much, that you really don't get that tool to shine. Now, if you have contact, talk about a guy again, Stephen Kwan. You don't have to showcase the power because the contact, you're slapsticking the ball, your spray charts all over the place. I think Daniel Vogelbach had kind of 1-2 hard hit balls to the left side of the field all season for us. I'd 1 for sure, maybe just 1. We needed to fill that spot with versatility. The only kind of type of guy that if you're a pure DH, like I really hope that you can put up David Ortiz-esque numbers because a guy who's hitting 200 and is not cracking 25 home runs by the end of the year just isn't it. Daniel Vogelbach was not it. He was a fun guy. He was a cool guy, great character. I hope he can find a job in Major League Baseball for a team that can use that position, use that slot value of his on the 26-man roster. It just didn't fly with the Blue Jays in what we have to do in 2024.
Yeah, I think he still is going to find a spot on a Major League roster somewhere. It's just with the way the Blue Jays roster was currently constructed, Daniel Vogelbach's fit on it seemed kind of weird. Riley, me personal, I was hoping they would do this to Justin Turner. I think I like Daniel Vogelbach more than I like Justin Turner, but the Blue Jays are stubborn. They paid Justin Turner a lot of money. I guess they're going to keep him around. And look, the Blue Jays needed more versatility. If you needed power, which you're probably going to get, Addison Barger might give you some more power, and it's tough to see him go. He seems like he was a great guy in the clubhouse. You know, he had a great spring training. He made this team on merit, but it's time to say goodbye to Daniel Vogelbach.
Yep, he was also here in the shortened 2020 season as well. So 2 short stints for Vogelbach. Been a journeyman type DH. Happy trails. Good luck. Again, nothing personal. You were great personality wise, but just not enough versatility. Just not enough of a tooled player to really make a splash with this type of roster.
The players who are making a splash, though, on this type of roster, and if you're a Blue Jays fan, the players you might be actually excited about now, and these are the Buffalo boys. These are the guys our friend Jesse was begging for us to call up a month ago, but they're here now. The combination, Riley, Ernie Clement, Spencer Horwitz, Davis Schneider, and Addison Barger were all playing in this series. All of them left an imprint in their own way. Game 1 for Ernie Clement, 2 doubles, hit a home run in Game 3. Defense has been playing a lot better, too. And, of course, a revenge series for Ernie Clement against the Cleveland Guardians. Spencer Horwitz had 2 hits, 2 walks. He's made all the plays defensively. He looks like he belongs here. Davis Schneider, we know his story. He's probably the most extreme out of all of them. 0 for 9 in this series, but did draw some walks. We know his power. And Addison Barger, a guy we were calling last episode that we really wanted to come up, impressed me this series. 3 for 8. He stole a base. He hit a baseball 108.5 miles per hour. Also got his first career RBI, did Addison Barger. Riley, I'm impressed with the Buffalo boys, and it seems like after Vlad, it might be their team going forward.
Oh, it definitely is, and it kind of makes me think, when will Aurelvis Martinez's time? Obviously, the age is different in these guys. Those guys, Ernie Clement, Spencer Horwitz, never blue chip type guys. These guys had to grind in the minor leagues to get where they are. And it's if this isn't you get the golden spoon Jeter type treatment. This isn't, hey, we really like you, we're going to put you as our shortstop for 20 years. Barger's going to split time, I'm sure, play a little bit of right field, play a little third base. Ernie Clement, very much a platoon type guy. We know this. Davis Schneider, even adapting, playing way more left field than I ever thought.
Yeah. Made a good catch out in that today, too.
For sure. And Spencer Horwitz defensively as well. This is a guy we were saying, can still play corner outfield. But it seems like right now, I mean, there's no problem with him on second base. Defensively, he's no liability. Maybe not the ideal build for a second baseman, but we need his bat in this lineup. What did you say? 3 for 8, a couple RBIs. He got on base.
2 for 10 this series, couple walks, but yeah,
2 for 10. I mean, that's not a great batting average, but he drove in runs when it counted today. Drew his walks. He's got a very good eye at the plate. I really do like him hitting at the top of the order. It is the Buffalo boys' time to shine. And whatever the deal is with Bo Bichette, which we'll get into, sure. We need, we've been batting Bo, second at times. We've hit him clean up. He is nowhere near the caliber we need him to be for a top 4 batter in this lineup. So I have no problem with someone kind of grabbing the torch and running. Whoever that be. I don't know if we're going to get kind of a 7 for his last 9 at bats. I think was Ernie Clement at one point. He's been on a tear.
He was awesome.
By the way, a home run today. I mean, it wasn't a 425-foot shot by any means, but it got the job done. He had a grindy series as well. Barger finally getting some good batted ball luck, hitting the ball very hard to the pull side. Love that, Jesse. How often?
Oh, I love that so much. Yeah. We need more of that on this team.
Exactly. This is the Buffalo boys' time to step up in a big way. Not saying that our season is lost and that we need to be saved, but at the same time, Jesse, we do need to salvage some of these series coming up. And if those guys who, ripped it up at the AAA level and are looking for a mainstay on the big league club, boy, would that would be big for the Toronto Blue Jays, and it would make them a mainstay. You see, I saw how Davis Schneider did in his first clip with the club, and he never really looked back. I mean, it's kind of looking more or less the same for a guy like Spencer Horwitz as well.
I think going forward, you needed at least 3 of these 4 guys in the lineup every single day. Like, let the kids play. Let them come up here. Let them go, because they're young. They don't know any better. They can provide a good spark. They can really go and get things going for this Toronto Blue Jays team, and I want to see that. Moving on from the other guys in this roster, Riley, and I want to call this offensive players the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think you can kind of predict on who is going to fall in what categories as we get through here. Let's start with the positives, though, and I have 2 names in this one. Dalton Varsho, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Vlad was coming into the series struggling a little bit. He was 0 for 19 before he hit a single in game 2 of the series, but then he exploded. He had 3 hits, including a 401-foot single in game 3. And Dalton Varsho, Riley, grand slam, his second of the season. And I love the Varsho one the most because it was bases loaded against a pitcher who was struggling. It was a 2-0 count too, and he sat on the fastball. How often have we seen the Blue Jays just miss at their hittable fastballs? Dalton Varsho sat on one, got one up in the zone, set it into the bleachers. Absolutely. Just the Blue Jays' second home run this season out of the cleanoff spot, by the way, which I still think might be one of the wildest stats the Blue Jays have had this year, but it was very good. Vlad and Varsho, do you have a quick thought on either of those?
Varsho also laced the double, and I believe
yes.
game 1 or 2. Game 2.
Yeah.
I mean, pulling the ball extremely well. That was his grand slam, made that his 11th home run, second grand slam of the year, by the way, too. So, I mean, hey, we've beat this drum a ton of times, which is hitting runners in scoring position. Doesn't get any better than a grand slam. That's the cream of the crop for run producing in baseball. I mean, you can't do better than hit a grand slam. That's 1 swing, 4 runs. Vladdy,
love that.
Vladdy too. He's producing some quality at bats. The painful thing with him is the hitting the ball in the air thing. Now that ball he hit to the wall, we weren't sure if that was going to be caught. It was absolutely laced. It had some carry on it. He had to stay at first base. In my books, obviously, it's a double. It counts as a single because he obviously didn't advance to second. Not a lot of extra base hits for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but if you look at the Blue Jays hitting stats, you will find Vladdy at pretty much all the counter stats right now, as far as, hits, walks, lower in strikeouts. Like, he's having a very good year just without the extra base numbers in his favor. It shows in his slugging percentage, that's for sure. But his average, his on base still looks very, very good. He's still producing, just in less volume than he did in, say, 2021. Hard to compare the two very different years, and we've had some very different years in between But he's still getting bad on ball and hitting the baseball extremely hard, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm confident the power is actually going to come from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It's just going to take a slight tweak and slight approach change, but I really do think it's in there for Vlad. The bad in the series, some hitters that didn't do so well. Kevin Kiermaier, Justin Turner, and our two catchers, Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk, all went hitless in this series. And let's wrap this guy in here too, which I'm calling the ugly. And boy, the George Springer experience is getting quite ugly so far for Toronto. 1 for 11 in this series. He did walk 3 times. I'll give him credit for that, but hitting 5th. And he was absolutely killing us right now. Remember in that last game in Milwaukee, he came up with the bases loaded and 1 out, and he struck out, wasn't able to get the job done. Well, it happened in this series here as well. Bases loaded, 1 out, and he struck out again, and he left 5 men on base in his first 2 at-bats. Like, if George Springer is in the lineup, he can't be hitting 5th. He needs to be hitting 9th or literally on the bench until something can figure out, because George Springer has been killing us lately. Do you have a quick thought on any of the slugging offensive performers, Ryder?
Yeah, let's leave our catchers out because I want to fill this time with kind of adding on to that. And we both took to Twitter about the George Springer situation. We knew this is gonna be a down year for him. And I think I can't imagine a reality where and hey, Schneider could be living in fairy tale. John Schneider could be living in fairy tale land where he believes that there is still a tremendous ball player in George Springer. His prime is well behind him. You can see that in many facets of the game. I'm surprised his defense has held on as well as it has. I will give him big creds for that. Moving to right field has done wonders for George Springer's game. But it's not at
the plate, though.
Not at the plate, not even close. And this quality of at-bats have gone down tremendously even from last year. The swing decisions, the pitches he decides to swing at that are out of the zone versus the protecting pitches on counts you have to protect in, he'll be taking. The eye has kind of gone. The discipline has kind of gone down. It's resulting in poor quality contact, which result in, and I mean, George has a good enough hand-eye coordination that he can put the ball in play. But when you have runners on and less than 2 outs, what do we see all the time is the grounding into double plays. It's an absolute killer. The Jays did turn 2 defensively today. It's always nice that the defense can do that, but I feel like we're on the receiving end more than any other ball club. I know that's probably not the case, but I can't be going out on a limb too much. But with the possibility of grounding into a double play, because you've seen it, and Varsho was guilty of it in this series as well. He had a very good series, but no one out, bases loaded. The runner did score. Runner advances to third, but he got out. And that does not count. A double play that results in an RBI scored is not actually an RBI.
Yeah, which I think is dumb, by the way. I think that's one of the dumbest baseball rules.
I did not realize this. I think when this happened to me, I think it was when I was playing Road to the Show. I never strike out and I never walk in Road to the Show. Sort of like real baseball. I put a lot of bat on ball. Not an elite eye, just good bat to ball skills. And I think I probably checked the stats and was like, well, I drove in a run. It's like no RBI. And I looked it up. It's like, no RBI. Like, you ground into a double play. He still gets his run scored in his column, but you don't get an RBI. And it's like, well, whatever. Doesn't matter. Varsho still at 4. My main point here being that I will call out the culprit for grounding into double plays, because we are absolutely killing the rallies when we do this. And it's nice when we get them together. We need more of those rallies where Spencer Horwitz comes through with an RBI single and we don't just destroy the inning on a ground ball double play.
Yeah, just one more point to circle things back to George Springer. We saw the signs of decline. We talked about it all offseason. He's in the bottom 10% in baseball in average exit velocity. His launch angle is the lowest it's ever been in his career. A lot of the expected stats under the hood are all falling apart. And Riley, what did I say in the offseason? Like, the biggest signs of decline you see in an aging hitter is usually their ability to hit the fastball. When George Springer was great, he was really good. 2021, 18 run value against the fastball, 15 in 2022. Last year, it dipped to -2. And this year, in like a third of the season, it's already -3. That's one of the big aging signs that a guy is starting to age. We're seeing it in Justin Turner, too. I don't think it's a single surprise. At least, I mean, the fall off has been sharp, but I think we all saw this coming. And that's very worrisome for George Springer. Any other thoughts on offensive performances? We didn't touch IKF, or is there anything else you wanted to mention before we go on to pitching?
If you want to look for a league average hitter at this point in the year, IKF is 100 OPS. Came into today's game with an OPS plus of 100. So he's exactly league average. We don't have to spend much time on that at all. But if you want a league average bat right now, IKF, sure. There you go.
Great. All right, let's turn things from the box to the bump. And our three pitchers in this series: Kevin Gausman got the ball in game 1, 5 1/3 innings pitch, 8 hits, 1 earned run, 3 earned runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts. There we go. I thought he had like B- stuff. I didn't think it was good, which was kind of disappointing coming off his shutout he had in Oakland. But 8 hits and 5 1/3 is a lot. The splitter wasn't nearly as sharp as it was. It wasn't getting as many whiffs. The fastball velocity was down quite a bit for Kevin Gausman in this one. It's always nerve-wracking to see that from a starter who's now on the wrong side of 30, who's got a lot of innings under his belt too. You don't love to see that, but still, at the end of the day, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 3 earned runs allowed is close enough to keep your team in the ball game. So that was a good thing from Kevin Gausman. Bowden Francis pitched behind 2 relievers to start. They came in before him, but I actually thought he pitched quite well. 4 innings total, 4 hits allowed, no walks, 2 strikeouts. I thought his location was really good here. And that splitter he shows looks like a legit weapon for Bowden Francis. And he might be, with Yariel Rodriguez coming back, the Blue Jays' first legit actual long man out of the bullpen since Ross Stripling was here in the first half of his season. So that's worth noting. It's a valuable role on this team. And then Jose Barrios, who pitched today, 6 innings pitch, 8 hits allowed, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, and only 1 strikeout. No walks and only 1 strikeout allowed. The 8 hits he gave up ties a season high, and he gave up a home run late, which gave him 4 earned runs, which means he didn't get the quality start, so he couldn't add on to that. But he really gutted it out in this one. Only 6 swings and misses, though, which go to show that Jose Barrios wasn't at his best. His stuff wasn't exactly where it was, but still putting together a good effort when your stuff is not at your best was very good. The 3 starting pitchers, Riley, Bowden Francis, Jose Barrios, and Kevin Gausman. What were your takeaway on them?
Let's go to the start today because I had something in mind for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was an inning, Jesse, where every out recorded was a hard hit baseball. Like Jose Barrios, I mean, it didn't look terrible. 4 runs over 6 is never like a great look. But at the same time, too, his defense picked him up, and they were kind of atom balls in a way.
Yeah, I mean, 6 hard hit balls against Barrios today. He's had starts where he's given up more, but yeah.
No, for sure. But I mean, in that kind of, I think it was around the fourth inning or so, like you could see that he probably wasn't going to spend much more time in the ball game at that point because they were starting to find him out. Gausman I think he was verbally upset, kind of said something along the lines of "This won't do. We need more run support." If you read between the lines, I don't have the
stuff post game.
I don't have the exact quote. Well, how can you be happy? Your offense is struggling significantly. You go out there and I would say shove. I mean, 5 1/3 isn't absolutely shoving, but the Blue Jays just didn't hit. 3 hits in the ball game, and 2 of them are off the bat of Ernie Clement. I mean, there's got to be more there. Yeah, Ernie Clement had a tremendous series, but there's got to be more for Gaz in that start. You got to help your starter out as much as you can. But honestly, the bullpen day is the best day. This is the day I feared the most. Coming into it, no, I'd be lying if I wasn't.
No, of course, yeah.
Like you there's too many variables. There's a tale as old as time now. It seems that it's not like we got Bob Gibson facing guys 4 or 5 times in the lineup, throwing 9 innings, 145 pitches, no matter what. Like we're getting a different pitcher for every time a guy comes up in the order, which gives you some wonky matchups. And for me, it's kind of an uncomfortable thing. Like, is Zach Pop going to lack in control? Is Bowden Francis going to give up a 500-foot home run? But everyone was on point. Francis, a tremendous job. Gave up 4 hits over those 4 innings pitched and 2 strikeouts. And then, Nate Pearson has kind of been our guy late in ball games. And again, we used them today to basically wipe up the scraps that Garcia left. Yep. But at the same time, too, he came in a non-high leverage spot and got the job done for the Blue Jays again, which Jesse, we're going to talk about here very shortly. I don't know when. I'll try and segue that the best I can. But our bullpen day was very good. Run support and the Gausman start would have been fantastic. at the end of the day, as good as our starters have been this year, this wasn't our best series for a starting pitcher. Really like the bullpen day, though, Jesse.
Yeah, the thing with the bullpen day is like kind of like building out a parlay in your sports book where all it takes is one leg to mess it up. So in the Blue Jays bullpen day, it's like if one reliever just doesn't have his command, can't figure it out, then your whole day is kind of ruined. I think the Jays got kind of lucky in game 2. They were able to do that. You started talking about a little bit, but let's get into the bullpen a little bit. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about our injury updates. First one, Bo Bichette didn't play in 2 games in this series. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa played some shortstop. It sounds like it's nothing too serious. I don't think Bo Bichette's going to have a trip to the IL. Maybe another off day or 2 going into the Boston series, but we should see Bo before long. Kevin Kiermaier did take a foul ball off of his knee, but he was able to come back and play defense in game 3 today, so he seems like he should be okay. And the big one, which is going to get us talking about to the bullpen, is Yimi Garcia left his appearance here today with the trainer, with John Schneider, with what John Schneider said after the game is going to be elbow soreness. And you never want to see your best reliever who comes in, who throws as hard as Yimi Garcia does, with elbow soreness. That does not seem great. I'm taking it, Riley, as a positive, because John Schneider didn't say anything about going to an MRI, didn't see anything about, we're going to have him to get a better look or a second opinion. He just said, we'll see how he feels tomorrow. So I guess stay tuned tomorrow for updates on Yimi Garcia, but an elbow injury seems rough. And then my question for you, Riley, what are the Blue Jays going to do then if Yimi Garcia does have to make a trip to the IL? Like, Jordan Romano's still hurt. Yeah, he's recovering, but he's still not here for the time being. What do we do in our bullpen if we lose Yimi Garcia?
Well, unfortunately, that spot is probably going to get filled by rushing Eric Swanson back up with the club.
No, we talked about him last episode. He's got an ERA over like 7 in Buffalo.
Let's just talk about this logic. Okay, so look at the waiver wire. Are there any relief pitchers on the waiver wire? I doubt it. None that we want to take on this team. What is it going to take to trade for an arm? Is that what we're going to do? I don't think that's the route, Jesse. Then it comes down
I agree with you. Yep.
Like it's going to come from, it's going to come from in-house. They're going to look around. Has any reliever, I don't have the stats in front of me. I'm going to guess that pitchers haven't been wowed at Buffalo like in the last little while. Do you want a guy that has big league experience? Like, I have a feeling they're going to rush Eric Swanson back up with the big league club, and it's going to be another sink or swim thing. I'm not saying whether this is fair or not, whether this is the right decision. I just think this is the decision that they're going to make. Their backs are against the wall in the depth chart. And I really think that this is definitely the lazy move to make. But I think it's kind of, they're just looking to patch this. Garcia going down, if he is going to miss extended time, there may be a long-term solution, but I think they're just going to throw a Band-Aid on it, which will be calling up Eric Swanson to the club and giving him a look. And if he falters again, they'll send him back down. But I really hope for his case, I really like Eric Swanson. I really hope he can make it stick, because when he's on, he's good, but he just hasn't had it this year, man.
You cannot call up Eric Swanson until he shows you something in Buffalo. I'm sorry, but that is not an option.
I agree with that. Well, who else are we going to call up, Jesse? I can't see a whole lot of other options.
There are some names. The Blue Jays, if you look at their prospect list, like prospects 7 through 15 are all relief type prospects.
Hagen Danner.
Yasser Zulueta's down there. We saw a bunch of guys. Connor Cook, maybe, like a bunch of guys in spring training that can come up. Mason Fluharty. There are names.
Zulueta's in Cincinnati right now, isn't he?
Yeah, so I guess maybe not him. Yeah, that would be a hard one for us to get. But I think in terms of the big league bullpen, Chad Green has closer experience. Maybe he's the one who slides in there, starts getting saves for this team. I want to see Nate Pearson. I don't think it was an accident. John Schneider went Nate Pearson, into the 9th here to clean up Yimi Garcia's mess. Maybe that is a sign. Also, look, Zach Pop has looked pretty good. At the end of the Milwaukee series, their manager was talking about Zach Pop and how nasty of a stuff he had and how they had to put like trick plays on him to score some runs. So maybe we start seeing Zach Pop in some high level situations going forward here too. And look, Brandon Little has quietly put together 4 straight scoreless appearances. He's looked okay. Genesis Cabrera had a good series. I mean, Tim Meza has been bad again. And if anything, this just means Tim Meza is not going down yet because they still need him up there. But the Blue Jays pen took a step back, especially if we lose Yimi Garcia. And we're going to have to rely on like a Genesis Cabrera or a Tim Meza to finally step up his game for this bullpen to get where we need it to be.
Yeah, it's a good thing, Jesse, that our starting pitchers do keep us in the ball game for a long time, but this is more of an incentive because of this, that we need to score runs early in the ball game to get up to a lead. So we don't have to hold these high leverage situations. If we don't have the guys to pitch in high leverage, why not pitch in high leverage? Hell, we score 7 runs in the first 6 innings. We won't have to worry about the back third of the ball game, Jesse. We can throw Little. We can throw Pop. Pop has been very good. I'm not saying that he's not suited for high leverage, but I more often than not would like to see him in a game that's, 4 runs either way. There's a couple options and a couple ways to do this, but at the end of the day, we can avoid the high leverage if we score more runs and our starters are still good. Unfortunately, that's not how baseball works, and we will miss Garcia regardless of what happens. I hope he doesn't miss a ton of time, but I mean, who can do what he can? I mean, Pearson is there for sure. I wouldn't call on a guy like, I don't trust Chad Green that much.
Yeah, I don't either.
Even though he's more on his resume, sure, for sure. But you got to go with who your best reliever is. And I really like what Pearson's done. And yes, Pop has been very good. But to come in a 1-run game in the 9th to act as closer, probably not calling on Zach Pop, although I do love Canadian closers, as we are waiting for one to return back to the major leagues, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. We'll pay attention tomorrow. We should get a Jimmy Garcia update before the Red Sox series. So obviously, if there is some major news, pay attention to our socials. We'll talk about it over there, and we'll have all that going on. Riley, we're getting pressed for time, but I wanted to play a fun game called Do These Stats Matter? And these were some things that I went through searching with some help from our friends online. But I found some interesting stats that I think could be relevant here. We don't need to spend a ton of time on them, but let's get to them here. The first one, Riley, I texted you over the weekend because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget this. This one comes actually from research done from our friend Chris Black, Down to Black on Twitter. So if you've been on there, you've probably seen this one already. But I said, wow, when I saw this stat, and I think you saw it as well. And that is that Bo Bichette does not have a single hit this year when ahead in the count 2-0. Does this stat matter?
Yeah, that's an atrocious looking stat. I believe you did. I'm just looking for the text. Bo Bichette doesn't have a hit all year when he's ahead of the count 2-0. I said, no bleeping way. What? Where on earth did you uncover that statistic? I just got done umpiring, and you said, I didn't want to I want to text you so I don't forget it. And Jesse, I won't forget that. That is a terrible statistic. Wow. How? Even with batted ball luck, the amount Bo Bichette should be getting bat on ball in any count, an 0-0 count, a 3-2 count, a 2-1 count. I don't think it matters. Like, that just can't happen. And that's a hitter's count. Jesse, that's the count that you were told as a kid to take a rip.
Like Dalton Varsho did today, right? He did exactly that.
And look what happened. You look when you were a kid and you saw a ball go in the dirt, and then the next one went just a little bit outside, and you looked down at our skipper, and he told you the nod, said, take a rip, Jesse. You were going up there and taking a big daddy hack, and you
swing hard in case he hit it. Yep.
And you put that ball in play, and you registered a hit. That's something Bo Bichette hasn't done, and that is crazy because that is a hitter's count. That is a green light count where Bo Bichette needs to get hits. I thought he'd had 200 of those suckers this year. Hits, I mean. And he's not going to get it. Bo Bichette is not having a good year. Injury-ridden or not, whatever you want to call this, I think that he's going to play more games this year than he did last year, but he certainly won't have more hits. His stats will not be This will be an off year for Bo Bichette. I hope moving forward that doesn't persist. But that just can't happen for any ball player at this point in the year.
Sit on your pitch, 2-0. It's strategy. Like, you should know this. Like, at this point, I'm starting to think someone's in his head either feeding him wrong information, or maybe it's himself is just not locked in, or maybe it looks like he doesn't even want to be here. Like, it's a tough watch for Bo Bichette, but we'll pay attention to that storyline going forward. My next stat here, Riley, and this comes from a quote that John Schneider said pregame before game one of this series against a pitcher like Logan Allen. He said, look, against a guy like him, it's very important to wait him out, force him to come to you, and sit on that fastball. Well, the Blue Jays went 3 up, 3 down on 6 pitches in game one of the series against Logan Allen. And Logan Allen's four-seam fastball has a -6 run value. It is terrible, yet he threw it 62% of the time, a season high, and the Blue Jays had just 1 hit against that fastball. Riley, does that matter?
Was it the Ernie Clement extra base hit?
I think it was.
Okay. Yeah. Good for, again, Ernie Clement, great series. For the rest of the Blue Jays, the way that series started was not good. I don't think it matters too much. But what you want to do is take advantage of a pitcher like that. We did not. I don't know how this happens. That Tyler Alexander with the Tigers. Rays.
Rays.
He was with the Tigers. Now he's with the Rays. I'm sorry. I'm having flashbacks on Detroit pitching well against us too. But again, it's like things that can't happen. I mean, this segment's do these stats matter? And it's like, can this happen for us to win? And the answer is no. We need to take advantage of young, inexperienced pitching. And the fact is, I don't think the Blue Jays hit the fastball very good. Yeah, they can hit the breaking stuff well. I'm sure, Jesse, I want to figure this out because you usually give me a check on how many balls Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has hit hard on the fastball. We know he can hit the breaking stuff, and I think a lot of Blue Jays have troubles with the fastball. We could have hit an inexperienced pitcher. We could have got on base more. Jesse, 3 hits will not make it happen.
Yeah, man. The Blue Jays have the lowest slugging percentage in baseball off 14 fastballs this year.
They're terrible. Doesn't surprise me, but that just can't happen for us to be successful.
I agree.
That's a terrible, terrible stat to have possession of with the hitters in this lineup.
So these next 2 points aren't really stats, but they're talking points, and we are running a little bit long here, so bear with us. But this first one was, Riley, I think I'm in. I think I'm into the small ball era of the Toronto Blue Jays. I think it's time. Look, in terms of principle, I still think it's important that the Blue Jays should be swinging for the fences and should be trying to maximize their damage and do for outputs and play for the big innings. But the Blue Jays roster just simply is not built that way, right? And so I think you have to take advantage with the roster that you currently have. And I think the best way for the Blue Jays to maximize, to get to 4 runs, where you win a lot more games than you lose when you score 4 runs, I think they have to start playing small ball. They're like the best team in baseball in stolen base efficiency this year. Steal more bases. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa laid down a bunt in this series. It worked. They were able to get the job done. Get the job over. Move the sac fly. Move the runner. Maybe it's just because we just saw Milwaukee and Cleveland, 2 teams who are very good at doing this sort of thing. But I think this is how the Blue Jays have built their team. And I think they've got to start trying to maximize that way to get the most out of their current roster, to get more runs on the board, to ultimately win more games. So at least for this team and this season, I think I'm in on small ball, Riley. I think it's time.
Cheers, Jesse. Drink some of that Kool-Aid, brother. I have pretty much nothing to say. We have 2 different takes. I don't voice my opinion that much on small ball because I'm afraid that I'll lose my spot on this podcast because I like what I do. I don't want to oppose Jesse's takes and let him know that I actually really like some small ball stuff. It would be, Jesse, we wouldn't have to worry about this if we were a different club offensively, but I think this is the direction that the Blue Jays kind of have to take to be efficient. And you said stolen base efficiency. Barger had his first career steal in this series. Great.
Barger also executed a hit and run today too.
My God. Can we talk? No. Yeah. Can we talk about that for a second?
Absolutely,
Time on the agenda, because we didn't even talk about this pre-show, man. Wow. Okay. George Springer did do something right. He got his butt moving. He took Rocchio over to second base. And I don't know. Hey, man. I don't know what Barger's vision was at that point. Whether he kind of had a split moment of, I got to send that ball to the left side. That ball he hit was right where Rocchio started. He moved over to obviously protect against the steal that George Springer was trying to execute. Barger just plain old hit it to the hole. And it was beauty. Perfect. That is the hit and run to perfection. I'm glad we just talked about that. Addison, his first RBI, he had a great series, but wow. Yes, thank you, because I forgot about that until I saw that. And that was the loudest I was at home alone watching the game today. I won't lie. I didn't say this. I had a little bit of a snooze when Varsho hit his grand slam. Woke up and was very
baseball
happy.
Naps, very underrated. Very
yeah. That's a whole other discussion. But yeah, man, the loudest I cheered in that game was for Barger when Springer was on the move and he hit the hole there. Great piece of hitting. Wow, great piece of hitting. Glad we got to include that in there.
Let's see more of that going forward, because I think that's how the Blue Jays are ultimately going to win games. And Riley, this last one, does this matter? It's kind of more of a big picture thing, but rumors went around that the Blue Jays are trying to get money for next season from their season ticket holders earlier this season before the trade deadline. They want these people to make a commitment before they make a decision on what the roster is going to look like next year. Usually this thing doesn't happen until around August, maybe even early September, where they start asking for the down payment on next year's Blue Jays team. My question is, what's with the change in this? Why is this? Are the Blue Jays looking for a financial commitment from their fans so they can go into a sell-off? Or are they really worried that, hey, our team might suck next year, but we want to make sure we still have revenue coming in, and that's why they pushed us up early? Is there anything in here, or am I too conspiracy theory into this?
Well, you're far less of a conspiracy theorist to me, but this is the beautiful thing about life, and the beautiful thing about baseball is I don't let conspiracy theories and baseball combine with one another.
Okay.
I believe that owners, I could never be a general manager in the game of baseball. I can on a video game. It's great because you don't have to be shrewd and manipulative and conniving, those ugly words. I like the on-field guys. I don't care about the white-collar guys in suits doing stuff. They're all millionaires anyways. I don't care about them. I care about, even though the ball players, a lot of them are millionaires too. I love what they do. I'm not there for the front office people. I hope that the Blue Jays fans aren't too mistreated in this. Why they're rushing this, I don't know. I would like to be the optimist and be like, hey, maybe they just need more money. Maybe we're going to go off and trade for Josh Hader or something. Like, we need a lefty pitcher. I don't know.
Sure.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know why, Jesse. I'm going to try not to read too much into it. The oddity here is that we've already kind of got the ball rolling with Biggio going, Vogelbach going. Is this the start of things to come? Possibly. But is a big sell-off coming? Certainly not. I can't imagine in the next week. We're going to have to see how our team performs on the field before I start to draw heavy conclusions.
Yeah, it's just when the Blue Jays do something at the trade deadline or a little later in the season, I just want us to remember this. Maybe when we get into the offseason, we'll touch about it a little more, but file that into your memory bank and let it know. Very off topic, but the Kevin Biggio time in LA is not going so hot. Apparently, Dodger fans are already booing Kevin Biggio. So,
man,
I wanted to throw that out there.
I was watching. I was at a good buddy of mine on Wednesday night, and we watched Biggio's game, and he had his first hit as a Dodger. He also made an error at third base.
Yes.
And Teoscar Hernandez made an error in right field too on a play that it wasn't. I won't describe it. I love Teo. I miss him deeply, and it was just a drop ball. Teo, not known for his Gold Glove defense, of course, but things you don't like to see. It sucks for Biggio. I mean, his father was not a West Coast guy. This is a whole new element to the Biggio baseball kind of legacy, if you want to include Cavan and Craig stuff. I mean, he played 20 years for the same team. Thought we were going to have Biggio for a long time. Now he's kind of going to LA, and I think Vargas is going to kick him out of third base here sooner rather than later.
And we don't have to talk about Biggio. We don't have to talk about the Dodgers anymore, but it'll be interesting to see how the era goes there. Down on the farm,
Mookie's going to be injured for a long time. All right, talk about your farm, Jesse.
Yeah. Just running through these notes. Alan Roden is now in AAA. He got a hit. Ricky Tiedemann is pitching again. He was quite bad in his first appearance, but I think all that matters is that Ricky Tiedemann is on the mound again. Nathan Lucas is having some thumb surgery. He's going to be out for quite a while, hence probably why Alan Roden got the call to Buffalo. 79 pitches for 3 innings for Yariel Rodriguez. I think his next start will be here in Toronto with the big league team. Fastball average 93, topped out at 96. He looks good. And Riley, the Red Sox coming into town, a team we need to pass. They are the one team that's ahead of us, in between us and the Minnesota Twins for the third and final wildcard spot. I could be wrong, but I think this is our first time seeing the Boston Red Sox this year. It's been a long time since we get in there. Probable pitchers for this series are the Blue Jays are going to have Yusei Kikuchi against Nick Pivetta, Chris Bassett against Tanner Houck, and then Wednesday it'll be Kevin Gausman against Brian Bayo. Riley, is this the series the Blue Jays finally push over and get above 500?
That would be really, really nice, Jesse. And I want to say, yes, that's going to happen. The Red Sox just put up a tremendous effort against the New York Yankees. They set a franchise record with their 9 steals in one ball game. That isn't an MLB record. There has been games in the double digits. But we talked about running. I'd like to see the team run more, stealing more bases. That small ball, Jesse, I'd like to see a little bit more of that.
Let's do it
in this series. You know, when the Red Sox move into town, it's always it's always a tough series. They've been a good team for a long time. I think that they're overperforming this year, and I think this is a series we need to win and start to turn our season around. I know we said that last time. We did win the series against the Guardian. I think we ought to win another one here against the Red Sox.
2 out of 3, I'm going to say, and my pick to click for this series is going to be Dalton Varsho. The Red Sox are throwing 3 righties, a lot of them that spin the ball low in the zone. That sounds like Dalton Varsho's music to come out and have a big series. I'm predicting another home run, maybe a couple extra base hits. How about you? Do you have a pick to click this series?
Well, we've seen Horowitz put the ball in play. Haven't seen a lot of things hit hard and pulled. I would love to see Spencer Horowitz turn on a ball and maybe a couple extra base hits for Spencer Horowitz in this series. I'm with you too on Varsho. If there are 3 righties being thrown, I think Horowitz and Varsho are 2 pretty safe picks in this series because, I mean, you saw what Varsho did in this one, and Horowitz has done nothing but hit and get on base since his time with the Blue Jays in 2024. So hopefully we pull 2 wins out, Jesse. I mean, that would put us in okay shape. We're not drowning yet, but we need to go on a run here very shortly.
Yep. Well, we will be back on Wednesday to recap the Red Sox and Blue Jays series, and then we will be at Comedy Bar in Toronto on Thursday. So again, get your tickets, meet us there, come talk Blue Jays banter with all of us. Know that. For Riley McConnell, I am Jesse Burrell. That is it for episode here today. We went a little long, but a lot to say on these episodes as we do. We'll see you on Wednesday night, and until next time, let's go Blue Jays.
Thanks, guys.